last time Walt was sort of.
They have a solution.
Yeah. Oh.
Most people have no idea.
Well, of course, Steve wants to deliver the best products. Steve wants them, so I think the GAs are. I'll make the GAs are. I'll take the call. I mean, it's not ideal.
Hey, y'all are getting done, that's all that matters.
Steve's still doing good?
He is.
Good. I can't get believe that.
After that, we say that the new sign for trustees, it was just like that. We say it 3 times.
All right.
The goal is to merge them as thoroughly as possible.
Yeah, you can't.
So, we're doing things behind the scenes. You can't be super overt about it.
Yeah, right, but yeah, yeah, so
Probably do something. We do something similar to what we did. We specifically targeted
Morning, how you doing, man?
it's plugged in. I feel like it's ready to go. Yeah, to just control until I'll turn it on. Okay. Are we going to use this for anything other?
Good morning. How are you?
I'm good, are you?
Charging for now? Right.
It has been in, it should be fully charged, but it's all sitting there saying, sorry, at this point.
No, right?
How are you? Good. Merry Christmas.
Yes, I passed by your home and
We've got a minute to go.
Thank you. I will now call the Business and Finance Committee meeting to order. Welcome everyone on this very chilly but beautiful sunny day. Secretary, would you please call the roll?
Trustee Atkins. Trustee Atkins. Trustee Canada.
Here.
Trustee Jenkins. Here. Trustee McInnes.
Here.
Trustee Rowe.
Here.
5 members present.
We have a quorum and I will call the meeting to order. The first item on our agenda is the minutes for the September 20th, 2024 Business and Finance Committee meeting were circulated in advance. Are there any corrections or additions to the minutes? If none, I move to approve the minutes as written.
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. The minutes are approved. The next agenda item is a consideration of the October revised budget for fiscal year 24-25. Before asking for a motion, I'd like to call on Sandra Hamilton, the Associate Vice President for Budget and Finance, to review the October revised budget. Associate Vice President Hamilton is joining us via Zoom. Sandra?
Morning. Thank you, Trustee Kanata, and I hope that you all can hear me.
We can.
So I am presenting for your approval this morning the October revised budget for fiscal year 24-25. The university's proposed budget was prepared in early May and submitted to you for approval at the June Board of Trustees meeting. The proposed budget is a living document and it is subject to changes based on enrollments and other factors. The revisions presented in this October revised budget will address those changes in all of the original projections and associated expenses and any other strategic shifts that might need to have been made. The information provided to you prior to this meeting detailed the changes from the proposed to the revised. I'm going to speak to the key adjustments from the proposed to the revised as we view the revenue and the expense charts. So this first chart that you have shows the revenues by major resource category. The two major sources of our revenue being tuition and fees and the state appropriation. Key changes to revenues from proposed to revised consisted of an encumbrance carry forward, which was purchases procured but maybe not received at June 30th. So we carry those funds forward and rebudget for the department so that it doesn't impact their current year's budget. Other carry forwards included centers of excellence. We had some faculty startup funds that needed to be rebudgeted, and there were other designated fees such as the student activity fee and the tech access fee that had to be rebudgeted also. Tuition and fees increased because of the enrollment growth and because of our tuition rate increase. The state appropriation unfortunately went down by about $460,000, and that was related to, the decrease was related to, it was needed to fund the State of Tennessee Claims Adjustment Division. That was across all of the local government institutions, and I'm just going to refer to it as somewhat of an insurance premium based on historical evaluation of claims. So sales and services is another area that we saw some growth in revenue, and that had to do primarily with the success of our Professional and Workforce Development Center. They have been working very hard to partner with agencies to benefit our community, giving people an opportunity, or giving people workforce opportunities. So the second chart, we can move on to the second chart, which is going to be a chart that shows our expenses by major function as defined by governmental accounting standards. The adjustments to our expenditures from the proposed to the revised were primarily related to, first of all, salary and benefits. We had an across-the-board salary and benefit increase, and at the time of the proposed budget, we put those funds in a pooled cost center, and then after decisions were made as to how that would be allocated down to the positions, we had to, what we did was we put it on the positions all the way down to the cost center and the individual positions. So that would have affected your salaries, and it would have also affected the associated benefits. And again, the encumbrances that were from the previous year were budgeted across all of the functions, all the way down to the departmental level. That was about $3 million, so that ended up being spread across, shows in all the different functions. The scholarships and awards, there was an increase to the scholarships and awards, and that was for the enrollment and the tuition increase, and also there were some grant-specific scholarships that had an increase. In the transfers area, there is a transfer that comes in from our debt reserve to fund an operating lease for the institution. Auxiliaries had an increase in their expenses, and that was to cover the across-the-board salary adjustment. They covered that by reducing their transfer out to renewals and replacements. I think that was about $30,000. So the revised budget as presented to you reflects a commitment to prudent financial planning in line with governmental accounting standards. The financial resources presented in this budget aim to sustain and promote the success and growth of Austin Peay State University. Trustee Kanata, this concludes my presentation for the APSU October revised budget for fiscal year 24-25. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Do I hear a motion to approve the October revised budget?
Motion.
Second.
It's moved and seconded. Are there any discussion items? Any questions? Here none, Secretary, please call the roll.
Trustee Atkins? Trustee Atkins? Trustee Kanata?
Yes.
Trustee Jenkins?
Yes.
Trustee McInnes?
Yes.
Trustee Rowe?
Yes.
All ayes.
The motion carries. The next agenda item is the consideration of the designation of the quasi-endowments. Before I ask for a motion, I'll call on Ms. Hamilton again to provide the information on this item.
Okay, thank you. So the Austin Peay State University Board of Trustees has governing authority over the university quasi-endowment funds. We are seeking your approval for the proposed endowment reclassification from permanent to quasi. So this year, in the annual State of Tennessee Comptroller's Review, the auditors made a recommendation to reclassify some of the APSU endowment funds. We currently classify all of our endowments as permanent endowments, in which the corpus is required to be held into perpetuity, with only the income from the investment being used for purposes outlined by an external donor. The proposed change will reclassify 22 endowment funds from permanent to quasi-endowment funds. Quasi-endowments are designated internally and approved by the Board of Trustees to function similarly to permanent endowments, but the corpus can be expendable at the discretion of the Board of Trustees. We do not plan to treat these any different than we have over the last years. The corpus will continue to be invested and income will be restricted for the intent specified in the documented agreements. Please note this is only in regards to the 22 endowments in your packet for the university and entirely separate from the foundation endowments. I am happy to answer any questions related to this, if you should have any. Thank you.
I have one. This is just a clarification. What is the difference between a quasi endowment and an endowment? Is that just an accounting change, or I know we're not changing anything, but what is the terminology?
Yeah, so thank you for asking that question. I think it's important that we point out that it does not change the classification of these from an endowment fund. So within the endowment fund, you can have a true endowment, a permanent endowment, or a quasi endowment. So this basically just reclassifies within the endowment funds. And quasi means that, so a permanent endowment is one that, say, a donor has specified, I want this to be an endowment. So the corpus is held into perpetuity. A quasi-endowment is one that the university or a governing board can designate unrestricted funds or restricted funds into the endowment fund as a quasi-endowment. And at any given time, of course, they have the governing authority over the corpus of that. So it just kind of separates the two from the actual, I guess, source of the designation. And to add to that, on our financial statements, and I think the whole purpose for us doing this, it shows our net position. We have a net position in all of our different funds, and it's either an expendable or non-expendable net position. And this will move them from non-expendable to expendable. And that's just fair presentation of financial statements. Did that help?
Sort of.
May I say a question, or maybe to follow up on Trustee Rowe? It's my understanding we have not been doing anything inappropriately, and because these particular items were set up many years ago, and now the best practices have changed about how these funds should be set up accordingly with documentation, et cetera. This puts us more in line with the requirements of the state comptrollers. We weren't doing anything inappropriately. It's really just tightening it up to match what is now required from the state comptroller's position. Is that correct?
Trustee McKinnis, that's exactly right. It's mainly cleaning up the identification of the source of the designation, right? Either in a regular endowment, the source is a donor, or in a quasi-endowment, the source is perhaps the university or the board. And what we had was essentially just mislabeling of these endowments as endowments rather than quasi-endowments because of the way they were formed. I'm going to ask Vice President Phillips to chime in here as needed, because I think in his area, I think he's probably got the most substantive information about this here.
Thank you. You're exactly correct. I would tell you this is something that's come up, and we're not the only institution going through this right now. These are things, for example, there's one in your packet that was crowdfunded. It was a scholarship for a walk-on football player. There is not one donor who set that up. It was a crowdfunded scholarship. When you came to the spring game, you gave a gift. It's now in a fund, and because there's not a donor signature on that, the state is asking us to make it a quasi because it can't be permanent because that signature is not there. So you, as the governing body, would now be the ones who would oversee that scholarship, if you will.
And this is only related to those funds that are managed by the university, not by the foundation, because that's a totally separate area.
Correct. The foundation is going through the same thing. We did the same thing you're doing last week. There were 4, and that was voted on, and we moved those to quasi.
Well, and I think it's a compliment to, Mr. President, to our finance team that they've seen this needs to occur. We're taking action before we have a finding, for example, from the comptroller's office that says, you should have done this a long time ago. So we're getting ahead of it and being proactive, so thank you. And thank you, Vice President Phillips.
You're welcome. Thank you.
We got a little bit out of order. For next, I do need to call for a motion. Do we have a motion to designate these identified funds as quasi-endowments and maintain the corpus of the funds while continuing to use the funds in accordance with the original intended purposes.
So moved.
Second?
Now, is there any further discussion?
Sorry about that, Trustee
No
Canada.
worries, no worries. It is an important topic. So any other questions or conversation? If not, Secretary, please call the roll.
Trustee Atkins?
Yes.
Trustee Canada?
Yes.
Trustee Jenkins?
Yes.
Trustee McGinnis?
Yes.
Trustee Rowe?
Aye.
All ayes.
The motion carries. The next item is the consideration of the Morgan University Center dining facility renovation. Vice President Sharuz Rupavar will provide this information on the dining center.
Thank you, Trustee Kanata. The opening of the new food hall has created an opportunity to renovate the existing CAF into a modern food court. The new space will add to our existing offerings through Sodexo. The plan will include creating the largest Chick-fil-A in the region, as well as introducing a Subway to the options. The Sodexo contract will cover the costs, which has no obligations to APSU. The price is estimated to be $3.1 million. In accordance with University Policy 1024, the board must approve capital projects in excess of $500,000. I'm joined by Mark Bruner, our Director of Capital Planning, Design, and Construction, and we can answer any questions you may have.
Do I hear, is it time for the motion? Do I hear a motion to approve the Morgan University Center dining facility renovation?
Motion.
Second.
It's moved and seconded that we approve the Morgan University Center dining facility renovation. Is there any discussion?
Quick question. So if I understand this right, we're having to approve this because it's a project of a certain amount over, but it's not costing us anything at all, right?
Correct.
Well, I like those kind of motions, so thank you.
Any other questions or discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carries. The next item on our agenda is the consideration of the Event Center renovation. Vice President Rupavar, please provide the information on this item.
Thank you, Trustee Kanata. The building located at 416 College Street, formerly known as the Jenkins and Wynn Truck Center, also the building we're in today, is envisioned to become the university's new event center with easier access, parking, and increased congregating space. The renovation work will include creating meeting spaces, updating the exterior, and adding a catering space. The project's cost is not expected to exceed $5 million and is primarily fundraised. In accordance with University Policy 1024, the board must approve capital projects in excess of $500,000. And again, I'm joined by Mark Bruner, and we can answer any questions you may have.
First, do we hear a motion to approve the Event Center renovation?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
It's moved and seconded that we approve the Event Center renovation. Is there any discussion?
Yes, ma'am. How long do you think the project could potentially take once the funds are raised? I mean, do you have kind of a timeline?
I would expect, excuse me, I would expect the design about 9 months and construction about a year.
Thank you.
Other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? If none, the motion carries. The final agenda item is the consideration of the new policy, 1.029, Generative Artificial Intelligence at Austin P. Vice President Rupavar, please provide the information on this.
Thank you. The board has in its packet the newly created policy 1029, Generative Artificial Intelligence at Austin P. This policy guides the use of generative AI tools such as language models, deep learning algorithms, or similar technologies while maintaining academic integrity, promoting originality, and fostering responsible use of AI technology. It has been created as a result of requirements for institutions of higher education to have a policy regarding the use of AI technology by students, faculty, and staff for instructional and assignment purposes, and recognizing the surge in AI availability. The policy was created by a campus committee from several stakeholder groups, including legal affairs, academics, student affairs, and information technology. Corey Harkey and I are here to answer questions if you have any.
First, do we have a motion to approve policy 1.029, generative artificial intelligence?
Motion.
At APSU. And do we have a
Second.
second? It's moved and seconded that we approve policy 1.029, generative artificial intelligence at Austin Peay. Is there any discussion?
Just a brief, sort of inform us what this does, if you would.
Primarily requires integrity behind using artificial intelligence so that students can't submit something written by ChatGPT for an assignment, or also creating guidelines for faculty to clarify to students what is and is not permissible in their classrooms for AI, as well as on the staff side for what we're willing to accept for self-created or AI-created work.
How would you be able to know, though, if a student had submitted something that they got from chat, et cetera?
I think that's an excellent question for academics. I'll open it to anybody from academics. Dean Meisch?
I mean, it's a great policy, but
Yeah.
how would you know?
Absolutely. So in the world of course, academia as well as in the world in general, artificial intelligence is becoming a really great function, a really key function for our students to learn how to appropriately use. And so the tools to actually effectively identify when artificial intelligence has been used are not actually really good. And because AI is constantly coming out with new things, new programs to utilize, there's no way to keep up with being able to detect really effectively whether a student has actually utilized AI or not. And so really what this policy outlines is, as Shrew's indicated, ethical use, right, of it. And how are we going to effectively teach our students when it's appropriate, how it's appropriate. And so this is actually a tool that a lot of our faculty are already utilizing in the classroom. If you talk to anyone out in, of course, the business world, this is a desired trait for our students to know how to learn to use appropriately to apply to their careers and to their disciplines. So that's really kind of more what this is about. It's not to be a gotcha. It's not to punish students at all for utilizing it, but it is to make sure that everybody outlines appropriately the expectation of the use in the classroom, at their work here, and in any type of product that's actually produced.
Thank you. Are there other LGIs that are establishing a similar policy or have already established?
Yes. So this comes out of a state law that is requiring all institutions of higher ed across Tennessee to have a policy that speaks to generative AI for faculty, staff, and students. And so absolutely, I have a feeling you will start seeing other probably fairly similarly written AI policies coming from some of our fellow institutions.
And I would think, too, there's probably a strong partnership between academic affairs and student affairs because of the overlapping here.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
And I would point out that you may have noticed my presentations today were a bit more clear. All of this was run through Grammarly, and which it helped me get to my point easier.
It's very helpful. Other discussion? Other questions? Comments? It is moved and seconded that we approve policy 1.29, generative artificial intelligence, Austin Peay. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? No, the motion carries. This concludes our agenda, and I move the meeting adjourn. Is there a second?
Second.
It's moved and seconded that we adjourn. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say no. The ayes have it, and the meeting is adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you.
the next meeting will be the Student Affairs Committee meeting.
Thank you, Carol.
Thank you.
I'm putting my jacket as a blanket.
Oh, it's cold in here.
I know, I'm gonna find that coat. I wish I put my coat, but I gotta find it. Get it back on for my next session.
I noticed that our student population increased from 5,000 to 8,000 in 2018.
It was an A. I got an A in this one.
Well, his the emergency lead, he's the one that created the
Presents.
president.
Yes, along with Linda Rudolph.
Okay, so that worked.
Yeah, and so we shouldn't have, the issue was that they couldn't see the slides going out or something, so they've got that camera on the, yeah. Yeah. It's much different when it's a presenter versus a trustee, because we have to do certain
Yeah, he
things.
was such a good man. He was behind the Vernon Jenkins scholarship. He got together with us and said, hey, you know, we need to get a scholarship in honor of your dad. And so I started calling people from Fort Credit, Fort Worth Company and whatnot, and Austin, we helped, and we got the scholarship together, but it was his idea.
They were listed back in 1990, 1991, as
Yeah.
emerging leader in Dallas.
His time.
Yes.
Yeah.
I love it. So that when we love Jesus, you know, we can just show everything else. So Chris Williams is coming to this time.
Yeah.
I would do too. That was before my time here. It's freezing. I'm turning the heat up here. I'm gonna need to hang some meat if it gets any colder. Oh, yeah, you're right, I thought of that. See, that's, no disrespect, that's a gentleman thing, you notice that. Ladies, stuff that's just the window. I was just saying it's cold in here.
It is cold.
And President Carney said, well, that's because there's a lot of windows.
Yes.
And the insulation in the doors and stuff.
Yes. Okay, Carol, I'm gonna stay on track. Okay.
The sixth person.
We'll let Todd see if he can.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Oh, are you gonna record?
Thank you.
Okay, well, I was gonna.
I think Catherine wants it. She wants it.
That's fine.
Wait just a second. What's he doing? Getting Valencia locked in.
He's the one that started. Got me in scholarships. When he started getting.
Yes, I think that's what she does.
We all good? I'll do a 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 countdown with this guy right back there.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. I'd like to call to order the Student Affairs Committee. Merry Christmas, everybody, on this beautiful, crisp day. Madam Secretary, please call the roll.
Trustee Jenkins?
Present.
Trustee Moore?
Here.
Trustee May? Trustee McInnes?
Here.
Trustee Simler?
Here.
5 members present.
Thank you, Madam Secretary. We have a quorum, and I call again the meeting to order. The minutes of the September 20th, 2024 Student Affairs Committee meeting were circulated in advance. Are there any corrections or additions to the minutes? means you did a fabulous job. Okay. Hearing none, I move to approve the minutes as written. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, signify by saying nay. The minutes are approved. Thank you. Well, we have some exciting information items this morning. I'm excited. We have no action items on the agenda, so I'm going to now move to the information items, and I recognize Dr. Leonard Clemens, Vice President for Student Affairs, who will provide information on the student trustee selection process. Vice President Clemens.
Thank you, Trustee McInnes. Each spring, Austin Peay State University a student will be selected to serve as the next student member of the university's Board of Trustees. So in preparation of that, for the student trustee appointment for the 25-26 year, the selection process has been announced to campus and the process has started. The process of recommending a student trustee begins with an open call to students in which those who desire to express their interest do so by submitting an application. Applications are reviewed by a designated university screening committee who conducts interviews and recommends no more than 3 students to Dr. Licari for consideration. Dr. Licari would then recommend that 1 student to the Student Affairs Committee and broadly to the Board of Trustees. The selected student will serve for the following academic year, beginning with the June Board of Trustees meeting. So we are happy to continue this time-honored commitment, and we look forward to this process as it unfolds.
Thank you, Dr. Clemens. Are there any questions for Dr. Clemens or discussion about the student trustee selection process? Great. The next information item on the agenda is about the Career Success Center. Dr. Clemens, I'll turn it back to you.
Thank you. Austin Peay State University recognizes that an important mile marker in true student success includes the attainment of a positive career outcome for every student that walks the stage. Austin Peay must approach career success in one voice and collaboratively, and to elevate and reimagine this effort, the Division of Student Affairs has launched the Career Success Center, a reimagined approach to create a more impactful and dynamic career development experience for our students as they prepare for and attain positive career outcomes. Including with this center launch is a nationwide search that is currently under the way for an inaugural director for the Career Success Center that will lead a new way forward for employer engagement and student career development strategy. This role will be filled very soon after our return for the spring semester. And then additionally, a new strategy and approach will be implemented to boost employer development and engagement, enhance career advising, and strengthen career education and programming, all vital components to increasing positive career outcomes. As a region's university of choice, we also strive for each student to be the job market's candidate of choice with the career edge from Austin Peay.
Great. Thank you, Vice President Clemens. Are there any questions for Vice President Clemens or discussion about the Career Success Center? I'd just like to say thank you for your efforts in finding the great candidate and the new hire for that next year, because I constantly get asked about, can I have a job? Do you know where I can get a job? And so that's wonderful to help these students, our students, transition.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank
We're excited
you.
about it.
And speaking of excitement, let's talk about Engage.
Absolutely.
All right, so you're going to provide information about implementing Engage, the Student Affairs Strategic Plan.
Yes, so as a part of our routine update, and thank you, Trustee McInnes, the Division of Student Affairs continues its implementation of year 1 of the strategic plan Engage, cultivating an engaged student experience. This supports APSU's strategic vision of the Austin Peay experience. There is much to be excited about with continued increasement of engagement with our students, and you'll see here very shortly. Engagement has been through the roof, and as illustrated before you on the screen, the data illustrates the engagement from August just through October. So these numbers are even higher as staff are pouring over November data as we speak. So over 170 events and programs in the first the first 2/3 of the semester. Over 13,000 have attended in program attendance. Of course, we have a great occupancy rate within our residence hall, and a whopping 28,000 visits to the Voice Center over the course of the early part of this semester. And so we're really excited about it. With increased engagement, as of course comes increased need for student care of service. We've given out over $13,000 in Gov emergency funds for students that are needing assistance to fill the gap as they are pursuing success.
Over 480 counseling sessions have taken place. That number has since surpassed that. We've had over 1,000 health center visits and over 850 food pantry visits, which we know will eclipse 1,000 by the end of the semester. All of this is a large tribute to the excellent staff that are within the Division of Student Affairs all across the division to make sure that students have an engaged student experience, but also they have care and student support as they pursue student success. So we're excited to continue to showcase this data. The work is being done. It is challenging, but it is also rewarding, and we have seen it in our student body. They've been active, they've been engaged, and we're hoping that that also translates to more success across the graduation stage.
Thank you, Dr. Clemens. Are there any questions or comments for Dr. Clemens on implementing Engage and the Student Affairs Strategic Plan? I'd just like to say I was here recently for the breakfast about hunger awareness and homelessness of the Austin Peay students. And when I was a student here, I didn't have to worry about where my next meal was or where I was going to sleep. And it was just unbelievable how many students struggle with that. Yeah. And when we look at this in the counseling sessions and the food pantry visits that have happened in 90 days. So I just thank all of our university for what they're doing. And as we get near the year end and people are making year-end donations, consider giving something to the university if you haven't already, but especially in these areas of mental health, wellness, and food, because I just think it's just such a benefit and it helps everyone. So thank you, Vice President Clemens.
Thank you so much. We're really excited about our food pantry endeavors. You know, we were the first public university institution to have a food pantry in the state of Tennessee on campus. So we're glad to be the first, and now we're striving to be the best. And we know what Dr. LaCar feels about that. So thank you.
There is no room for second, Alina. This concludes our agenda, and I move that the meeting adjourn. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Trustee May. It is moved and seconded that the meeting adjourn. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. The ayes have it, and the meeting is adjourned. Thank you.
morning, everyone. Welcome to the Academic Affairs Committee meeting. Secretary, please call the roll.
Trustee Jenkins?
Here.
Trustee Moore?
Here.
Trustee May?
Here.
Trustee McInnes? Oh, I'm on the wrong sheet. My apologies.
It's okay.
We are glad all those folks are here, but, Trustee O'Malley?
Here.
Trustee Simler?
Here.
Trustee May?
Here.
Trustee Jenkins?
Here.
Trustee Moore?
Here.
All members are present.
We have a quorum, and I call the meeting to order. The minutes for the September 20th, 2024 Academic Affairs Committee meeting were circulated in advance. Are there any corrections or additions to the minutes? Seeing none, I move to approve the minutes as written. Is there a
Second.
second? Thank you. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? If not, minutes are approved. Your meeting materials, including a draft for the new APSU Policy 1028 accreditation. I recognize Dr. Maria Cronley, Provost and Senior Vice President of Academic Affairs, who will provide further information.
Thank you, Trustee May, and good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
As you can see in the memorandum for this agenda item, this policy was developed to bring the university into compliance with Public Chapter 868, which was signed into law this year and requires the implementation of a policy such as this. While the policy provides a mechanism for how the university would change accreditors if needed, we do not anticipate the need for any such changes in the foreseeable future. Simply because, as a quick reminder, ASPU will formally be reaffirmed by the SAC-COC board this weekend as their Board of Trustees gathers for the annual meeting in Austin, Texas. This comes after a very successful reaffirmation effort, which I've updated you on all throughout the process. So thank you, and I'll be happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Thank you, Dr. Cronley. Do I hear a motion to approve the proposed new APSU Policy 1028 accreditation?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. It is moved and seconded to approve the proposed Policy 1028 accreditation as written. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of the proposed Policy 1028 accreditation, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Seeing none, the motion carries. Your meeting materials also include an item in showing supplementary fall enrollment. I recognize Dr. Cronley, who will provide further information.
Thank you again, Dr. May. I'm happy to report that after factoring in unique enrollments in the second part of the term this fall, we're happy to report overall head count. We do this every December board meeting. And again, taking in the second part of the term, our overall enrollment head count is up nearly 3.5% to 10,799 students. We are so close to 11,000. As you can see in the graph on the screen, many students who were initially classified as part-time at Census Day in September have transitioned to full-time with their Fall B enrollment. This increase is consistent with supplemental fall enrollment in recent years. As ever, I'm happy to answer questions that you may have. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Cronley. Are there any questions for Dr. Cronley or discussion about supplementary fall enrollment? Well, seeing none, this includes our agenda, and I move that the meeting adjourn. Second? Thank you. It's been moved and seconded that the meeting adjourn. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Ayes have it, and meeting's adjourned. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. Secretary, please call the roll.
Trustee Atkins?
Here.
Trustee Canada?
Here.
Trustee Jenkins?
Here.
Trustee Mailer is absent. Trustee Rowe?
Here. We have a quorum, and I call the meeting to order. The meeting of the minutes of the September 20th, 2024 Audit Committee and Audit Committee Executive Session were circulated in advance. Are there any corrections or additions to the minutes? Seeing none, I move to approve the minutes with the noted corrections. Is there a second?
Second.
Second's been made. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. The ayes, those signify no. The ayes have it. The minutes are approved. There are 3 information items for the committee to consider. Item A, Information Technology Security Update. Dr. Sherry Laudermill, Associate Vice President and Chief Information Officer, will provide information about this item.
Thank you, Trustee Rowe. Good morning, everyone. I'm here to provide an information technology security update. I believe we have a slide for it as well. There we go. And the primary reason I'm presenting today is in support of the Gramm-Leach Bly Reactor, GLBA. And that's a federal law that controls how financial institutions deal with the private information of individuals. This law applies to us as higher education institution because our students receive federal financial aid. So the GLBA has 3 sections, one of which is the safeguards rule, and that stipulates that institutions have to implement security programs to protect private financial information. It contains several different elements, but one of them is that the institution needs to designate a qualified individual to oversee that information security program, and I've been designated as that individual. That individual, or myself, needs to report to the board annually on information security.
Is it not going? Thank you.
That's better.
Okay, sorry about that. I'll try not to speak too loud. Sometimes I overpower with the microphone. So I have to present annually on what IT has done to support all of these different elements that are contained in the safeguards rule. So I've got a list of annual updates that we've done this year. The first is that we've updated our IT risk register, and that's basically a listing of possible security risks that our institution faces and mitigation strategies for those risks. We've conducted a tabletop exercise of a cyber incident, and we've used that to update our cyber incident response plan. We've reviewed and updated our disaster recovery plan. We've also reviewed and updated the information security program that was developed in support of the GLBA safeguard rule requirements, and we've shared that updated document with senior leadership. We've reviewed and updated the IT security program and plan, and that includes a list of security projects that we're going to be focusing on for the upcoming year. We've had all of our employees complete the mandatory security training. This is the 4th year of that program, and as of our required completion date, which was the end of May, we had an 88% completion rate, which is much higher than our fellow institutions, I can share after having regular meetings with them. We also, for those who did not get that completed training or the training completed in time, we removed their account access, and they had to complete the training before it was reinstated. We've also had a network penetration test completed by a third party, and we were able to remediate any findings that came back from the test. We've added several new controls in 2024. We increased our security communications with our students, and we now send them regular emails on active cyber threats so that they're aware of what's going on out there. And we've added content on cybersecurity to the APSU 1000 course, and that's a course that all new incoming students have to take. We have developed mandatory training for staff who repeatedly fail our simulated phishing attempts. Our click rate is actually 4.8%, which is just slightly below the 4.9% average for higher education institutions, and lower is better in this instance. We have reconfigured our shared mailboxes to be more secure. We've eliminated logon capabilities, and that reduces the ability for them to be compromised. And then finally, we completed the Cyber Quotient Evaluation Assessment for the State Claims and Risk Management Division, and that allows Austin P to be able to get cybersecurity insurance through the state. So that is my whole update. Very quickly, a lot of information in the slides. Does anybody have any questions for me on it? Well, I apologize if you missed the first part because I didn't have the microphone on. So.
Thank you, Dr. Laudermilk. And
you.
first of all, I want to thank you for doing this. It's hugely important today. And as you know, security, whether it's health information, academic information, bank information, whatever it may be, and it's a huge risk. We have risks from all over the world, cyber criminals from all over the world that are hacking into everything. I can flatly tell you that the Chinese basically built their aircraft based on what we've done, the stolen technology, and you're seeing that all over the world. So
Yes.
thank you. It's hugely important what you're doing. I want to personally thank you for what you're doing for the university.
Thank you.
Any further questions or comments? This is an information item. No action is required. Item B is review of the internal audit reports released between August 23rd, 2024 and November 7th, 2024, and the list of outstanding audit recommendations. Mr. Blaine Clemens, Chief Audit Officer, will provide information about this item.
Good morning. The first report in your packet is a report we released on September 27th about travel claims, travel expenses. The audit scope for that was November 1st, 2023 to March 31st, 24. In that 6-month period, the university processed almost 7,000 travel expense transactions with a total over $3.1 million in travel spend. When we perform audits of departments, we routinely look at what they're doing with their travel, but we occasionally, like with the credit card use earlier this year, like to pull back and look at it university-wide to see what's going on. This is also in a roundabout way how we kind of audit athletics. They're the biggest user of credit cards. They're the biggest users of travel claims. So that's kind of a backdoor into looking at what they're doing. The report, we didn't have anything that we found significant that needed to be in the report. Like always, we find other things that we communicate to management outside the report, but no findings related to this report. On October 28th, we released an audit report on student counseling services. In fiscal year 24, student counseling provided over 2,600 hours of counseling to over 550 unique students. That scope was from February 1st to July 1st and covered their business ops, payroll, budget, compliance, things of that nature. And again, we had recommendations we communicated to management outside the report, but we did have one finding in this report that you will see relating to a law that was not complied with. The law says we have to have a suicide prevention plan, and we have to give that to our students and faculty and staff once a semester. The previous director knew that and was doing it, and when he left and a new person come in, that institutional knowledge of sending it out was lost. We still had a plan, it was still in place, that just the institutional knowledge, it had to be sent periodically, didn't transfer when we had employee turnover. Upon notifying them of this, they immediately sent out the email and let everybody know and corrected it and changed internal processes to make sure that that institutional knowledge is not lost going forward. So there's no corrective action, really. They took care of it before I was done, which is always great. And then the third report we have is on November 7th. We released an audit report on the President's Office. So there's a state law that requires the expenses on behalf of, at the direction of, or for the benefit of the president to go into a schedule. That has to happen once a year. There's another law that says that the president has to be audited once a year. So this is routine to you guys. We kind of look at the schedule and audit it as a way of accomplishing the audit law. It's a complicated process. The report has no findings. We had recommendations that we communicated to management outside that. But the report itself, I want to comment on it. There's challenges of creating a report that is so trying to comply with such a broadly written law on behalf of, at the direction of, for the benefit of, is extremely broad. But over the past 20 years, I think everybody has kind of figured out what that means. And so the challenge with this audit is making sure that that expense schedule is complete. Right? There are people on campus who might buy a meal, might buy a hotel stay, and so making sure that those people are communicating to the accountant every quarter to make sure that these expenses are captured and reported is kind of a challenge, especially with employee turnover. They had that experience this year, so making sure it's complete is hard. But with turnover, there was an opportunity of new people on campus, and Beth, who does this audit, was able to get with them and kind of collaborate and make sure that all the people knew what the expectation is going forward. It's just a quirk, I guess, of trying to make sure that thing is complete and accurate. And that's all the reports we did for this quarter. Your report also includes a list of audit recommendations that are outstanding. So these are things that we have issued in reports that, in the past, that management has not yet finished. That list has one. I think it's still on track to be completed by February. In that packet, usually at the bottom, we tell you how many recommendations we've made outside reports, but I don't think the footer printed. So, so far this year, we've got 32 recommendations, opportunities for improvement communicated outside of reports. So we're still running like 10%, give or take, of things that we note actually are significant enough to be in the report. I'll be happy to answer any questions you have about any of these audits.
Thank you. Are there any questions of Mr. Clements or discussion about the internal audit? Hearing none, this is an information item, requires no action. Item C, new internal audit standards. Mr. Clements will provide information about this item.
Thanks, sir. So internal audit is heavily governed by state law. State law requires the board to have an audit committee. It requires the university to have an adequately staffed internal audit function that reports to you. By the law says that you're the one who hires and fires people in my position. It's heavily regulated by state law. One of those laws is that me and Beth have to follow the internal audit standards as put forward by the Institute of Internal Auditors, called the IIA. They're a global industry leader, and they set the standards to which internal audit offices strive to comply with. You might recall, we're audited me and Beth are audited every 5 years by an external peer group to make sure we're compliant with those. It's happened in 23, 2018. Both times we got the highest rating possible. But the IIA has dramatically changed their standards. They haven't really done so since like 2013. So they've reorganized things. The substance is generally the same. There's a few things that are different. So we have spent some time this fall going back through our manual, our policy, the internal audit charter, the audit committee charter, to see if we need to change anything to maintain compliance. These new standards go into effect January 5th. Yeah. And so we've done that. I do expect that we will have to adjust the audit charter, the internal audit charter, and the internal audit policy. And starting next week, I will start those through the natural change process that we have on campus. The biggest change to those guidance, those things are the previous charters and policies called the internal audit standards a certain name, and now they have changed that name. So what I've done is I've changed that name to be more generic so that we don't have to change our documents every time they change the title of what I'm complying with. And one of the changes my peers seem to be struggling with that I don't have to struggle with here, thank goodness, is one of the standards is really focused on, do I, as chief audit officer, have access and one-on-one contact with the audit chair? My colleagues in the state are struggling with how do they demonstrate compliance with that. However, here I don't have that issue. Me and Dr. Licari, out of the audit that we had last year, the audit committee chair now does my performance evaluations. So I talk to Trustee Mueller every 6 months, and then she reports that back to HR. So again, we're ahead of the curve. We get good grades. The standards have changed. We're adapting with them, and it seems like the hardest one for everybody else isn't the hardest one for us. So that's positive. But I did want to make you aware that maybe in March you'll be seeing some policy changes that are coming from the standard changes, which I'm legally required to comply with. I'll be happy to answer any questions about this exciting topic of internal audit standards.
Thank you.
Just one
Yes,
comment.
go ahead.
Congratulations on the past 2 years. I think you said you received the highest grade or score for the internal audit. So I know that takes a lot of work and attention to detail. So good job.
Thanks.
Plus, it's incredibly important to do this because we've seen other institutions that have had issues, and so Mr. Clements, thank you for the work you're doing. Any other questions or comments, Mr. Clements? Hearing none, this is an information item, requires no action. This concludes the agenda, and I move the audit committee meeting adjourn. I need a second.
Second.
Second has been made, moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The meeting is adjourned.
like to open the meeting of the Austin Peay Board of Trustees. Secretary, please call the roll.
Trustee Atkins?
Here.
Trustee Canada?
Here.
Trustee Jenkins?
Here.
Trustee Moore?
Here.
Trustee May?
Here.
Trustee Mealer is absent. Trustee O'Malley?
Here.
Trustee McInnes?
Here.
Trustee Rowe?
Here.
Trustee Simler?
Here.
9 members present.
We have a quorum, and I call the meeting to order. First thing I'd like to do is talk about unfortunate situation that happened in the fall meeting. We had made a hiring decision that was with an assistant professor that was adverse to the way everybody in the Austin Peay community felt. And I'd like to compliment the student body. You all did an incredible job handling a very, very difficult situation. You went to Dr. Leonard Clemens and got some advice on what to do. When we had our Board of Trustees meeting, there were lots of placards and boards in here. There was no disruption whatsoever. When we walked out, there was a line of people as we walked out. But I think the key thing is that it was a peaceful demonstration. You let us know what was on your mind. What we couldn't tell you is that the same thing was on the executive board of Austin Peay as well as the Board of Trustees' mind. But there were legal things that had to be taken care of first. And I want to compliment the student body. That is one of the most critical, important assets of Austin Peay University. I'd like to stand up and give them a hand. Thank you. Also, I'd like to recognize Dr. Oscar Page, who was the university president from '98 to 2004. Personally, a friend of mine. He I know at Austin Peay, when he started, there were 5,000 students. When he left, there were over 8,000 students. He was responsible for the Emerging Leaders Program at Austin Peay. Did a great job overall. I know that he came to me and he said, "Don, I want you to raise a scholarship for your dad, Vernon Jenkins." And so I called Ford Motor Company and Ford Credit, and then Austin Peay called all these people, and we had one of the first scholarships in the business college for my dad, and I always appreciated that from Oscar Page. And again, he passed away, but he was a tremendous leader for Austin Peay. Okay. Please note that there are items on your agenda that need to be adopted. Before I call for a vote, are there any items that you wish extracted from the consent agenda? Hearing none, I move for adoption of the agenda, including the consent agenda items. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second, which includes the consent agenda items. Do I have all of those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The agenda is adopted. The minutes for the September 20th, 2024 board meeting were circulated in advance. Are there any corrections or additions to the minutes? Do we have a motion to approve the minutes as written?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Minutes are approved. In accordance with Tennessee law, if there had been requests from the public to address the board, it would occur at this point in the meeting. However, the board did not receive any requests, so we will move to the next agenda item. I recognize President Licari, who will introduce today's campus spotlight.
Thank you, Chairman Jenkins. Before us, we have Dr. Perry Scanlon and his student fan club, apparently. Welcome to the Board of Trustees meeting. It's great to see all of you. Dr. Scanlon is the chair of the Department of Allied Health Sciences at Austin Peay State University right here. You may have seen him around. He's been a prominent faculty leader as well. A few years ago, serving as the president of the Faculty Senate. And so he is a very important person on campus campus-wide, but in the Department of Allied Health Sciences, he's not only the chair, he's a professor with tenure, and also the program director of the Medical Laboratory Science and Phlebotomy programs. Dr. Scanlon earned his PhD in 2006 from the University of Illinois in Chicago in microbiology and immunology, and he is a licensed and certified medical laboratory scientist. He's got 13 peer-reviewed publications and over 50 presentations, so not only is he an excellent teacher in the classroom, but he is an accomplished researcher as well. Dr. Scanlon.
Thank you so much, President McCarty. I'm pleased to present. I apologize this morning, I'm fighting off a little bit of a cold, but I am pleased to present the Department of Allied Health Sciences Spotlight at the Board of Trustees meeting. Thank you for providing us with the opportunity to talk about our programs, and we have several students from our department in attendance today at the Board of Trustees meeting. So those comprise many of the students that represent our programs. The Department of Allied Health Sciences in the College of Science, Technology, Engineering, and Mathematics has 5 tenure track or tenured faculty in the Medical Laboratory Science program. We have some notable faces, specifically faculty trustee Jane Simler, the founder of our diagnostic laboratory, Dr. Heather Phillips, our phlebotomy and clinical coordinator, Dr. Eleanor Jader, and our newest faculty member, Mr. Avery Tibbs. Together, the faculty oversee and educate our medical laboratory science students as part of our nationally accredited program. As noted by their graduating year, several of our faculty are alumni from Austin Peay State University. Our radiologic science program has 3 tenured or tenure track faculty. Our national award-winning faculty member, Dr. Jennifer Thompson, serves as the program director of the radiologic technology program. Ms. Terry Crutcher is their clinical coordinator and fosters relationships with imaging facilities throughout the Middle Tennessee area. Samantha Robinson is a first-year radiologic science faculty member. Our diagnostic laboratory is best known for its service to the Montgomery County community during the COVID-19 pandemic, providing testing to students, faculty, staff, and the community. Later, the diagnostic laboratory transitioned to a variety of patient testing, supporting the university community. We are preparing to relocate to the new health professions building, which will provide excellent clinical space to serve the community. These 3 staff members are integral to our department. Ms. Julie McKinney is the diagnostic laboratory director, and Ms. Haley Yaramilo is our medical laboratory scientist. Ms. Rhonda Mosher serves as our department's administrative assistant. Our Allied Health Sciences Department resides on the 1st and 2nd floors of the Sunquest Science Complex. We have been blessed to call this our home for the entire time the building has been open. The new health professions building is currently under construction and is set to open in late summer. This new state-of-the-art facility will allow our department to continue its growth and expand its programs. The new space will allow us to conduct interprofessional education with other departments, such as nursing, public health, and counseling psychology. It will provide hands-on training to our students with the equipment provided in this new facility. The diagnostic laboratory will provide key laboratory services to the university and local community. The Medical Laboratory Science program has 2 degree programs, the traditional campus bachelor's degree and the 2-year medical laboratory technician to the 4-year medical laboratory science bachelor's degree. Much like the registered nurse to Bachelor of Science in Nursing program, the MLT to MLS program allows us to partner with community colleges so students can complete their bachelor's degree.
The field of medical laboratory science translates science into medical diagnostic testing so that physicians can treat patients. Greater than 70% of medical decisions are made based on laboratory testing. Our nationally accredited program educates students on the knowledge and scientific basis of pathologic conditions, the molecular techniques of testing, and the quality management of the testing process. Graduates in medical laboratory science take a national certification examination that provides evidence of their competency to be licensed to practice in Tennessee. Graduates work in several areas such as medical and hospital laboratories, public health and reference laboratories, biotechnology companies, laboratory equipment manufacturers, and medical research. Our radiologic science program is nationally accredited by the Joint Review Committee on Education in Radiologic Technology. Radiologic technologists perform diagnostic imaging and patient care procedures to diagnose and treat disease. Examples of imaging in the field of radiologic science include diagnostic imaging such as radiography, computed tomography, mammography, magnetic resonance imaging, nuclear medicine, and interventional radiology. Graduates in the field of radiologic science work in hospitals and imaging centers and in medical research. There is a strong community need for these skilled professionals in both professions. Our programs boast a 100% placement rate into their respective professions. Graduates of both our MLS and radiologic science programs often earn pay at $60,000 or above in their first job after graduation. The phlebotomy program provides students with a fast-track post-secondary certificate program that can be completed in less than 6 months. This collaboration with the Professional and Workforce Development Center provides specific specimen collection and phlebotomy training. The Department of Allied Health Science faculty and students do various community service activities such as breast cancer awareness and Red Cross blood drives. Faculty and students also participate in health screening days that serve the students and the community. We provide laboratory testing such as complete blood counts, glucose and cholesterol monitoring, and other testing that monitors your liver and kidney health. We provide testing for campus and community to help make Montgomery County and the surrounding areas healthier, and we are always looking for community partnerships. We also train the next generation of laboratory and radiologic technology professionals. So I want to thank you for learning about our programs today. I would be happy to answer any questions you may have about our department or our programs.
I'd like to, Dr. Scanlon, 54 years ago this month, I graduated from medical school. And I remember very clearly my training in phlebotomy training was see one, do one, teach one. That was sort of how we did. I'm sure the patient I was doing it on didn't like it very much, but that's how we learned. I am so excited about this new program that you had, and your point is 100% of your students are placed. That is amazing. I don't think of anybody else that could state those things, and the importance that you're doing. Just to give you an example, when I began practice in 1977, 50% of patients that came to me, I'm an OBGYN doctor, who had a breast cancer, it was a 50% mortality. Today, it's less than 5%. And much of it is due because of the testing and early detection and education and so forth that you're doing. And these students with the exception of one with the Florida shirt on, probably will educate those patients when they come in and be able to take their education and educate their patients. And so I want to thank you for what you're doing. You're going to save lives. I will pass this along to your technicians, and I pass along Roe's rule is they hadn't invented the test, it hadn't been wrong. That included Roe. And so you have to take the test with what they are with your clinical presentation of your patient. But boy, I again thank you, and I'm so excited about your new digs that you're going to move into, and thank all these students too that are doing that help people like me for 50 years.
Thank you so much.
Chairman Jenkins, if I may. I'd also like to thank my colleague Perry for his presentation for our campus spotlight today. As you know, if you didn't before, this is my home department, so allied health sciences and particularly medical laboratory science. I would also like to join Dr. Rowe in thanking all of the students that are here today. It's wonderful that you are going to be joining these fields in which you are going to provide life-saving information for patients. As Dr. Rowe mentioned, when one of us is sick or our family members are sick, we know there are more questions than answers. And so I'm very thankful that all of you will be there to provide those answers throughout your careers. And I also want to particularly thank the medical lab science students. You are just a wonderful group to work with, and it's a joy to come to work every day. So thank you for being here today.
I'd like to mention, in the fall of 1990, I started at Austin Peay because at the time, Austin Peay State University and Belmont were the only two schools in the state that had a program in nuclear medicine technology. And I thought that's what I wanted to do. And then I almost passed out when I saw a butterfly needle being administered at UT Medical Center during my first winter break as an Austin Peay student and said, this is not going to work out. So then I changed to physical therapy, and now I'm in banking working with people that take care of patients. So I just want to thank you because this, as we all know, is so needed and so appreciated. And in my professional work, I'm in a lot of medical offices because they need a banker to help them but so they can take care of patients. And so it's so encouraging because it's everybody that plays a part. It's not just the physician, it's the medical lab, it's the nurse, it's the radiologic technology. I was recently at Centennial Medical Center in Nashville in their MRI area. And so thank you so much, sincerely, both as a professor but also students, because the patient care is so important. I cannot begin to tell you as students, never forget that the reason you're doing this is because patient and patient care and bedside manner. And it's a servant, truly, that all of you are doing, and the professors that are teaching and educating these students. Thank you again so much. And I'm excited about the new building because back in 1990, we didn't even have the Sunquist Science Complex. It was all in McCord. So maybe back to when was McCord where you went, Dr. Rowe? Yep. Trustee Rowe? Okay. So thank you. And look, he is living proof today that you can retire and retire looking young after you've served in medicine all those years. So thank you. And Dr. May, as a dentist, also went through a lot of training too and served in the military. So absolutely. And is a doctor of dental surgery. So if you have time after the meeting, students, I would highly suggest that you go to these two physicians here and pick their brains because they can probably teach you and share with you just a few quick nuggets that are very helpful. So thank you both so much.
Dr. Scanlon, thank you. We enjoyed the tour of your new facility yesterday, a mere 100,000 square feet and a mere $113 million, an incredible facility. And students, not all of us graduated with Pharaoh, so we've got a lot of great talent on this board, and thank you, Carrie. I think one thing that I'd like to say is that I was most impressed by the fact that you're going to have 4 clinics. 4 clinics to help students and faculty in Clarksville, Tennessee, with their medical needs, and I think that's an incredible ministry for you all as well as for the local. And thank you, Austin Peay, for what you contribute to our local economy each and every day. Thank you. Are there any further questions for Dr. Scanlon? Any further discussion? Thank you, Dr. Scanlon. We appreciate it. And thank you, students, for coming. I recognize Trustee May, Chair of the Academic Affairs Committee, to give us a report of the Academic Affairs Committee meeting.
Thank you, Chairman Jenkins. Thank you for the opportunity to present my report from this morning's Academic Affairs Committee meeting. The committee met and approved minutes from the Academic Affairs Committee meeting on September 20th, 2024. The committee also approved one action item that is on your consent agenda today, Policy 1-028, Accreditation. Provost Maria Cronley presenting one information item, supplemental fall enrollment. That includes my report.
Thank you, Trustee May. I recognize Trustee Rowe to give us a report of the Audit Committee meeting.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for the opportunity to present my report from today's Audit Committee meeting. The committee approved the minutes of the September 20th, 2024 Audit Committee meeting and the Audit Committee executive session. The committee heard presentations on the following information items: information technology security update, review of internal audit reports released between August 23rd, 2024 and November 7th, 2024, and the list of outstanding and audit recommendations, and lastly, new internal audit standards. That concludes my report of the Audit Committee meeting.
Thank you, Trustee Rowe. I recognize Trustee Kanata to give us a report of the committee meeting for Business and Finance.
Thank you for the opportunity to present my report from this morning's Business and Finance Committee meeting. The committee met and approved the minutes from the September 20th, 24 committee meeting. The committee also reviewed and approved one action item which you approved today by consent, the policy 1.029, the generative artificial intelligence at Austin P. The committee considered and approved 4 action items needing consideration for this board. The 4 items were the October revised budget for fiscal year 24-25, the designation of the quasi-endowments, the Morgan University dining facility renovation, and lastly, the University Center renovation. This concludes my report.
Trustee Kanata, do you have a motion on the October revised budget for fiscal year 2024-2025?
I do. The meeting materials included information on this October revised budget for fiscal year 24-25. By direction of the committee, I move to approve the October revised budget for fiscal year 24-25.
You've heard the motion to approve the October revised budget of fiscal year 24-25. Since this is a motion of the committee, a second is not required. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, Secretary, please call the roll.
Trustee Atkins?
Yes.
Trustee Kanata?
Yes.
Trustee Jenkins?
Yes.
Trustee May?
Yes.
Trustee O'Malley?
Yes.
Trustee McInnes?
Yes.
Trustee Rowe?
Yes.
Trustee Simler?
Yes.
The motion carries. Designation of the quasi-endowments.
Your meeting.
Trustee Kanata, do you have a motion on the designation of quasi-endowments?
I sure do, yes.
And she's eager.
Your meeting materials included information on this designation of quasi-endowments. By direction of the committee, I move to designate the identified funds as quasi-endowments and to maintain the corpus of the funds while continuing to use the funds in accordance with the original intended purposes.
You've heard the motion to approve the designation of quasi-endowments. Since this is a motion of the committee, a second is not required. Is there any discussion? Secretary, please call the roll.
Trustee Atkins?
Yes.
Trustee Kanata?
Yes.
Trustee Jenkins?
Yes.
Trustee May?
Yes.
Trustee O'Malley?
Yes.
Trustee McInnes?
Yes.
Trustee Rowe?
Yes.
Trustee Simler?
Yes.
The motion carries. Trustee Canada, do you have a motion on the Morgan University Center dining facility renovation?
Heck yes, I sure do. Your meeting materials included information on the Morgan University Center dining facility renovation. By direction of the committee, I move to approve the Morgan University Center dining facility renovation.
You've heard the motion to approve the Morgan University Center dining facility renovation. Since this is a motion of the committee, a second is not required. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The motion carries. Trustee Canada, do you have a motion on the event center renovation?
Yes, I do. Your meeting materials included information on the University Event Center renovation. By direction of the committee, I move to approve the University Event Center renovation.
You've heard the motion to approve the event center renovation. Since this is a motion of the committee, a second is not required. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The motion carries. I recognize Trustee McGinnis, Chair of the Student Affairs Committee, to give us a report of the committee meeting.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for the opportunity to present my report from this morning's Student Affairs Committee meeting. The committee met and approved the minutes from the September 20th, 24 committee meeting. There were no action items on the agenda. Business and Finance made up for that this morning. Dr. Clemens presented the following information items: the student trustee selection process, the Career Success Center, and finally, the Implementing Engage, the Student Affairs Strategic Plan. Mr. Chairman, that concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee McGinnis. The next item on our agenda is the board self-assessment. We had a questionnaire that went out to all the board members, and it had 20 questions on it. And it was an amazing conception of exactly what's going on at Austin Peay, what we thought the direction of Austin Peay was, and how we thought our leadership was working on that. And it was amazing that I do these questionnaires in my leadership, and generally I'll kick out one low one, and then I'll average it and see what the figures are. In this particular case, when I took out the low one, we averaged 4.7 on a scale of 5. Which is 94%, and when I left everything in there, it was 4.6, which is 92%, which I think is a phenomenal leadership job on Dr. LeCarey and also his executive staff. His direction has been incredible for this university. I'll point out that our overall increase in students to last year about this time is 12%. I know military-wise, we've got 700 additional students that are military affiliated since Dr. Lisa White was president here. We've made an incredible inroads in the military community. We look at the health professions building. We look at all the fundraising that's been going on that has fueled the fire for all the new buildings we have. Soon, the O'Malley Center is going to be open. Thank you again, Mike. So, you look around, and this building will be renovated soon. So it's just a really, really exciting time to be at Austin Peay. The one question that had the lowest score on it, which was 4.5, was the board adequately studies issues prior to the board action. And so some of the board members are asking for more information. And I can tell you for me personally, I am involved. I get tons of information all the time, and I give my opinion as a businessman on what the business side of a decision should be. And I'm almost overwhelmed with the amount of information I get. Some of it is very sensitive in nature that I get, and I know that we, all the time, you know, we're kind of saddled by the Sunshine Law. Mike can talk to me, I can talk to Carol, anybody in this, in the executive board can talk to either one of them, but we can't talk to ourselves. The Sunshine Law prevents that. There's a fine line between talking about something and making a decision as to how you're going to vote on it later on. So that being said, sometimes that limits the amount of information that can be sent out to the board. But I know that Dr. Akari sends out us an update a lot of times. It has information in it that's very, very useful. And I know as the Board of Trustees, you know, we have fiduciary responsibilities to make sure that that this university operates at the peak performance. And so our fiduciary part, also sometimes there's some sensitive things that can't be discussed, but if there's anything additional that we might be able to put information-wise out to the trustees, I think that'd be beneficial. We all like to know what's going on, but we don't need to micromanage. But I'd just like to compliment Dr. Lakari on his leadership abilities. You see his red shoes all over campus all the time. And I'd like the Board of Trustees to stand up because a lot of us have got red shoes on now. Come on, let's show them. Come on.
Didn't put any on today.
Yeah, but we're wearing these red shoes in honor of Dr. Lakari. And I'm going to be wearing these red shoes to every Austin P function I go to. And I may embarrass you all when we have graduation, but when I have that robe on, I'm going to have my red shoes on under that red robe. So let's give Dr. Lakari a hand. And just for the record, I think all of us want to be more like Mike, and that's what the red shoes are about. So, okay, trustees, on the count of three, it's more like Mike. Are you ready? 1, 2, 3.
More like Mike.
More
like Mike. More like Mike.
Okay. Now that we've thoroughly embarrassed him.
His face matches the red shoes.
Okay. I recognize President Lakari to give his report and to also report on any interim items.
Okay, thank you, Chairman Jenkins. Thank you, everybody, for that. I am humbled and a little embarrassed, but certainly grateful for your support. This is a challenging job, and it requires a great board, which I certainly have, and a great team, which I certainly have. So I think collectively, we're making a big difference for Austin P and our students. And we certainly had a great fall semester. You know, as was mentioned, we led the state in enrollment growth. Student engagement in campus activities is way up. The new MBA got off to a roaring start. We cut ribbons on 3 facility projects. We launched new initiatives to further connect the surrounding community with campus, and so we've been very, very busy this fall. Even this week has been packed. On Wednesday, just 2 days ago, we hosted the Tennessee Supreme Court as part of their efforts to advance legal education for students. They heard 2 cases on Wednesday morning, and more than 400 high school students from around Montgomery County were also on campus to participate in that. And so I got a chance to address them, as did, of course, our recruiters from the admissions office. But it was a great experience for the court. It was a great experience for all of those high school students, as well as our own political science students. Wednesday evening, Kirsten and I were visited by world language students and world language faculty at Archwood for caroling and hot chocolate. That tradition continues. Also earlier this week, we had an incredibly successful Goving Tuesday, where all 13 of our projects were fully funded, and then some. I think most of them went way over the target goal. And so that was a roaring success. I think we've, just in the last 3 of these Giving Tuesdays, have raised more than $100,000 for specific academic and student-focused programs. So that's a tremendous success. And then on Tuesday evening, I ducked out of the reception with the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court in order to jump over to the Mabry Concert Hall to dress up as Santa Claus as part of the holiday showcase concert by the School of Music. So that was really fun. That beard I'm still itchy from that fake beard, but that was really fun. And as we look to next week, the holiday parties are on Thursday, of course, and we have commencement on Friday, which is always the best day. Just a quick update on the search for our next provost. As you all know, Dr. Cronley will be stepping out of that role and back and getting promoted back to faculty, basically. I think that's the way she's looking at it. The committee has been working hard under the direction of Dr. Leonard Clemens, begin narrowing down the pool of candidates next week. First round semifinalist interviews via Zoom will be in January, with on-campus interviews of the 3 finalists to follow that probably in early February, so that I can make a decision and an announcement prior to spring break. So that process is going very, very well and is on track. As always, I want to give you just a little check-in on the priorities for the year and beyond: campus vitality, enrollment in all aspects, student success, including success after graduation, and laying the groundwork for the next comprehensive campaign. Those have been the 4 things that I've been hammering on. Of course, you heard a great report from Dr. Clemens about the implementation of the Engage strategic plan. We've got new programs for students, and existing ones have grown. And as a result, engagement is up substantially, and we're tracking and evaluating these programs like never before, so that we can gauge their effectiveness as we implement. Enrollment, of course, overall growth is great, and that's coming from really across the board growth, which I think is a sign of a tremendous strength for the university. Obviously, the freshman class continues to grow, but our graduate student body is growing as well. In fact, I think we've hit new records for graduate student enrollment each of the last 3 years. We are up in transfer students, and of course, as Chairman Jenkins mentioned, we are up substantially in military-affiliated students. The percentage of that now has hit 30% of our student body is military-affiliated, and so that continues to grow very, very quickly. And as part of the enrollment efforts, we've now announced our new recruitment initiative, which is the Tuition Free at Austin Peay initiative, which is a program that will allow students that are coming from households that earn less than $75,000 a year to attend Austin Peay tuition and fee free. It is a scholarship that adds on to whatever the gap is after Pell and Hope Scholarship money and other kinds of financial aid or scholarships that a student might have, so that students that are in these households who meet the GPA requirements will be able to attend tuition-free and fee-free at Austin Peay. And so this is a huge step forward for us in our mission of being a welcoming and an engaging campus and the region's university of choice for students who want to improve their lives. And so this is a very, very exciting initiative for us to ensure that Austin Peay remains that accessible institution in the state of Tennessee. In terms of student success, especially student success after graduation, you heard another initiative out of Student Affairs, which is to revamp and improve the Career Success Center for our students, to make sure that they have the support they need, the information they need to be successful in the job market. But then also in terms of tracking our retention rates, our retention rate is up about a point compared to last year, so that's really good. And we hit our goal of at least 90% of the freshman class registering for the spring. We're at 91% now. We hit that a couple of weeks ago, and so we are in good shape going forward in terms of retention and progress towards degree. And then finally, in terms of the groundwork for the next comprehensive campaign, we are up about $2.8 million in dollars raised compared to this point last year. So we're having a strong fall. Last year, we saw good growth in the number of donors, and so as you know, going into a campaign, you need both. You need lots of people contributing to the university, but you also need that dollar amount to increase as well. And this spring, we will get busy with identifying key campus priorities and expectations in terms of formally building the campaign. I do want to make a mention, as Chairman Jenkins discussed, Oscar Page, who served as Austin Peay's 6th president from 1988 through 1994, passed away recently. And he really did leave a lasting impact on this university and our students today, some of whom are here in various roles at the table. And the university and our student body continues to benefit from the things that he started. And so the legacy that he left this campus is truly important and will last indefinitely. Finally, your packet includes a list of contracts and agreements that have been executed, state building commission actions that have occurred since the last board meeting. So thank you, and this concludes my remarks.
Thank you, Dr. Licari. Are there any comments or questions for Dr. Licari?
Just, Mr. Chairman, just one comment. From being from one of those families that would have benefited from that scholarship, I can't thank you enough for your leadership. And we know that student loan debt is a huge issue, and if you leave college with a massive student loan, it really burdens you about what you can do as far as buying a car or a house or anything else. You can't qualify for the loan. And I see so many students who are graduating from medical school now who can't qualify to buy a house as a physician because of student loan debt. So I want to congratulate this college for taking that obstacle away from lower income families, and you're to be applauded for that, Mike.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, Mr. President,
Yes.
I just like to personally thank you for the comments about President Page. I was a student here. I was SGA president when he was president, and I think he is smiling in heaven today because of the continued great success of Austin Peay State University and the wonderful collaboration we have here with all the different stakeholders at this university. He was a dear friend of mine, a mentor, and so I am living example, but also most importantly, he was the epitome of a Christian servant leader that loved everybody. And Trustee Atkins just told me that he went to his inauguration when he left here and was at Austin College. So thank you both sincerely.
Thank you, Carrie. As a reminder, our next scheduled meeting will take place on April the 4th. And as Gerald Harrison tells us always, it's a great time to be a Gov. I will move that I'll move that the meeting adjourn. Do we have a second?
Second.
The meeting is adjourned. Thank you.
Merry
And
Christmas.
Merry Christmas to
Merry
everyone.
I'm so excited for y'all to get in that new building.
I know, and I can't wait.